today. So I'm very excited and honoured to be welcoming you both, Paul and Ross, to the Hero Series. Good afternoon, sir.
Wow.
How about that? Hey?
What an intro. Thank you.
Amazing. So, gentlemen, let's get cracking. We would love to know. Just tell us, first of all, a little bit about your business, if you wouldn't mind, just for our viewers.
Yeah, sure. So we're a tech recruitment business. We've been going 6 years now. Both Ross and I have got many years in the tech recruitment world. We've worked together previously and decided to start in 2016. So have been going through the trials and tribulations of a business and billing and running and everything else that goes with it since then. That's all we do is tech recruiters. We started focusing on startups and scale-ups as we thought it would be an easier intro. Hindsight, maybe not, don't know. But I think the biggest challenge for us right at the beginning was both of us have been, let's call it, off the phones for us older recruiters. I think mine, last time I was on the phones was 2005. So that gives you some idea. So that's what we do. We specialise in tech.
Amazing. Okay, thank you both so very much. Let's talk about the challenges that you were experiencing about a year ago. So before you joined the program, tell us a bit about what was happening for you.
I think it probably, the biggest change for me was COVID. That was the main thing. Up until COVID, we were growing, and actually we did grow in COVID as well, which was great. But we planned a budget just before COVID that we were super confident of hitting. And then obviously COVID happened. And then if you begin to think back at that period, you probably had 3 months in the summer of 2020 and then 3 months at the beginning of 2021, roughly speaking, where everyone was working from home and everything else. That was the turning point. Then we came back out of that and back into the office, and our people changed completely. They became very self-entitled, very demanding, very prima donna-ish, and they weren't even billing a lot. And that was the change. It was like, this isn't on anymore. We're not pandering to people. So I think what came out of that era was people and process is the quality of our people just went downhill. And a year previously, we were super happy with them. And their personalities that changed, that therefore movement A didn't suit them, which is absolutely fine. So people and processes were the key things that stood out.
So we have always had good ideas. When we set up the business, knowing that it wasn't a lifestyle business, we wanted to grow it. So we put in like process, technology, all that kind of stuff. Sat in we didn't work from one of our houses. We opened an office, albeit a 2-man office initially. And we always wanted to do it that way. So we always had good ideas about how to grow the business. But I think we always end up being reactive to situations because it was 2 and then it was 4 and then 6 and then we only got to 8 people. But we were still on the phones. We were still billing. We were still wearing all the hats and never focus on the business. So we needed some kind of change to, I guess, put into practice all the ideas we have and actually put some proper process and strategy around them, which is why we ended up speaking with you guys.
Great. And so tell us a bit about, what did you want from that? What were the areas that you wanted to change? I mean, one area was your people and your processes. So what were the things that you knew were that sort of pinch point or not necessarily getting you the results that you wanted?
I think firstly, we were focusing in the business rather than on the business.
Yeah.
Too much. And we needed to, as much as you go, we'll put some time aside to do some planning and work these things out. Another job comes in and you end up focusing on that. So we need something that's going to, 1, hold us accountable, and 2, basically force us to do it, which Rocket really helped with. And then, but once you start getting into it, you start finding more and more time for it, and opens up another wormhole for you, kind of thing. So we needed that, almost like someone just a rocket up with a kick up the bum to just get doing it, really.
Yeah.
We liked about Rocket when we were researching the kind of route to go. Paul did most of the research on this. Was one, there's loads of content, not necessarily things we'd never thought of. Certainly were some real big light bulb moments, but having the content to go, I don't have to write that myself. I don't have to write this training plan. It's huge time saving. I think that was a big thing for me at the beginning, and there are probably a few different things for you.
I think the one thing that I knew was our GP wasn't at the level I felt it should be, or that we as owners should be able to get our business to. And it was super annoying, frustrating. It's like, we're better than this, so why can't we do it? So at the forefront of everything was our GP needs to be more.
Right.
What's it going to take to get our GP higher, consistently increase, and take us to the next level where we can start looking at different things and grow again? So that was my biggest driver. And if I think I said to you, Katie, that as I said, many years experience, if I knew the answer, we would have been doing it. So we'd almost exhausted my 25 years experience or whatever it is in the industry now. And we'd got to a point and it wasn't good enough. So let's go ask someone. Let's go find someone that got some ideas, keeping the one thing in mind. And the one thing again was, we want to increase the GP. We're not at the right level. So how are we going to do that? And then we were open enough to go, right, let's, we're paying you money for a reason. There's no point in ignoring the advice.
Good. So what was the first thing that you did? Because you talked about that, we call it like the cheaper frigging everything. So it's like, oh my God, we're doing everything. What was the first thing that you put into place or that landed for you?
I think it's really important to say the first thing is the commitment to the program.
Yeah.
Right. So Ross mentioned it earlier. There's always something. There's always something that you could be doing because that's driving the revenue. You could be resourcing. Why am I going to sit and watch the next module and take an hour and a half out of my day and make a load of notes when I could be resourcing? But if you're not committed to it, there's no point in doing it. So the first thing for us was we're committed to doing this because ultimately we've got nothing to lose.
And open to doing it.
And very quickly we realised that it was going to work. But then moving on from that, it was the people and moving away from 360. It's just that's going to work. Because ultimately, this is my belief, no one's really a 360 recruiter. They say they are, but you're only a 360 recruiter for the first 2 years of your recruitment life, because then you're just farming your clients and expanding them, which is not really business development. That's the easy part of selling and developing, because you're just going around friendly clients saying, can I work with you more? So it was a very quick, that was a light switch moment for us. That was like, done.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So what did you change?
The whole of, well, it's a big question, isn't it? I mean, there's a lot.
I know, yeah.
I think if we take it back a step to be able to answer that, I guess right from the start, the key driver for me was the recruitment industry, how we run things, getting paid when placing people, and that's pretty flawed, isn't it? It's not, who else would do that?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yep, yeah.
And we thought our job to placement ratio was pretty good. We were just better than 4-1, so better than the industry average. And then one of your colleagues pointed out that's 75% of your hard work wasted then. I just thought, blimey. So everything we've done, everything we've done stems from improving productivity, so efficiency and effectiveness of our time, not wasting our time on punts or something that we might feel, but it's an opportunity cost. So productivity and opportunity cost of not sticking in your lane or sticking to the process or strategy sort of underpins everything that we do. And then all the changes we've made are based on that. So the profit levers that we talk about with you in the training, we've really focused and drilled down on that. So in terms of the level of business we work, so only working at improving our percentage of percentage fee, only working with higher end salaries because they're just as hard to fill, sometimes easier than the junior salaries, and they make sense, right? So focusing on time and stuff that's going to give us a higher average deal value, basically, and to what Paul said earlier, improving our overall revenue. So that, along with looking at the clients we're working with, stop taking punts, or if they're not going to work with us. We've got what we call our 3 R's now. So we're working with clients who are responsive, realistic, and reasonable. I don't want somebody who wants a Ferrari who's paying fiat money. It's just, we're not going to fill it, and we're going to waste loads of time trying. If they're not going to listen to the advice we've got, we're the specialists in recruitment, they're the specialists in tech or software engineering on our side of things.
Yeah.
So work with people who appreciate that, and we work together to get the delivery, which is ultimately what they want anyway. So I think one of that change as well.
One of the quickest things to change that we were very slow to change coming out of lockdown. We went from collecting jobs. Is it a job? Is it in tech? We're having it. We can work it. We can fill it. And we were filling 1 in 4, great, brilliant, and we were bringing in some money, no problem. But again, as one of your colleagues just whipped the rug right under me when she said, "Well, that's 75% of your work that was wasted." I felt about an inch high when she said that. But we went from job collecting to, no, what are we going to focus? Yes, we do tech. We now focus in 6 areas and 6 areas only. And then the next bit was the profit levers. In fact, that we've increased our margin from before Rocket 15% to now an average of 18%. And we're getting a lot more clients at around 20, 22. And that was a case of, so they need to fit our core pillars. They need to fit the 3 R's, and the money needs to be high. And we kept that as and we still are, a very strong focus. And it's got to be at least, there's 80% of our business, so using Pareto's law, it has to be 80%. There's always that 20% that flex. As an argument, we've recently, about 3 months ago, we got a brand new client, 15%, but they have multiple hundreds of roles in 4 of our 6 areas. And you're only one of 2 or 3 agencies working it. That firmly fits in everything. And they fit our 3 R's. They're a delight to work with. Their turnaround's quick. So you always have to have that little bit, in our opinion, extra to just flex, so long as the business case is good. And then the big change was removing the 360s and splitting our team into, which Ross, I'll highlight, and then Ross will give you the details. I think it's probably the best bit because it's his area. It's into 3 systems or machines. So we have our talent consultants, which 120 guys and girls, and they just speak to candidates and qualified candidates. Then we have client consultants, which is a 240 role, and they deal with existing clients in their niche as well as resource the roles. And then another 120 role, the final bit, is the sales element. And that's the system that we've been running for the shortest amount of time. So for about 2 months now, whereas the others we've been running longer. So that's our focus at the moment. So we've got three systems.
But the big change has been the talent consultant. So obviously then that changes the demographic of people we hire as well. So going for juniors with no experience, just the right attitude. We want to work hard. We want to be here.
Good energy.
Yeah.
High vibe.
Hired them. And it's been brilliant. It's been revolutionary. But the first 3 we hired started beginning of November. So they've just been here just 12 months now. I mean, they're absolutely flying. The G that they're bringing in is like astounding for a year one. Anyone, even if it's an experienced person coming in year one and learning a new company, like they've just got up on board. I think everything else is obviously playing into that. They have the roles to work. They're in the right kind of area with clients that are going to move if they find the right candidate. So they can spend all day headhunting basically and churning up these, this great talent for them. And then it's come down to the process in place. So we had a Movement 8 playbook before Rocket. Well, that's been destroyed now, and the new one is about 3 times thicker. But it's great, and I think you need process. I've always thought you need good process. It just makes sense in recruitment. If everyone's doing the same thing, working in the same way, collecting the same kind of information, storing it in the same way, so we can find it. It just means you're helping yourself now, but also in the future as well. So you don't do the same work 3 months later for the effectively the same role. So we're all working together in like a common goal. Really, we'll find the best candidates quicker that way. It's simple. That's what recruitment is.
And I think the extra thing I wanted to add on the process is that's a sales process and a systems process. Because again, Ross sort of alluded to it right at the beginning of the conversation. One of the things that we wanted to do from day one when we first started 6 years ago was to set the business up for scale. So day one, we had electronic signatures, we had electronic timesheet portal, we had a CRM, we had an office, so it was just add a user. And that's just, I think, really helped us now because we're constantly investing in technology to help us and have gone through over the last 3 months another sort of further round of us investing in technology, which is going to help the guys on there. So we're giving them every single tool. Everybody gets a recruiter license. There's not one element where they just cannot do their job because we invest in that technology. So there is a lot on the systems process, which is what Ross looks after, or is his baby, and is his expertise on.
Awesome. So what I'm hearing, so just to recap for our listeners as well, is that we've got the pillars. So you define the niches, you're sticking to those areas that you know is where your specialism is, where our expertise is. So we're not going to try and be a jack of all trades or, you know, try and fit everyone. We're actually saying, no, we're going to stay in our lane. I think was your own language there. Stay in our lane. We've got our pillars, the 3 R's, which is our values. It's how we work, but it's how we decide, you know, is that client right to work with us, as well as how we work? What's the delivery that we have for our clients? Look at those high level fees. So saying no to things that don't serve you. And actually, it's that realization often, isn't it? I think you're absolutely right that those senior level roles are often easier to fill, dare I say, than the more junior level, because they're more committed, because they know they're already on that career path. They know what it is that they need and want. And you also talked about, so we talked about then the 360. You said that was a really big change for you. So that's talent consultants, client consultants, and now you've brought in that business development. So you're moving almost from a 240 to a 120 there. And Ross, you touched on this. By having those talent consultants, you're saying that's given you the opportunity to go wider in terms of the type of individual that you have working for you. So spread that net wider, but also, and you might want to elaborate a bit on this for us, is like, what's the difference in the skill, let's say, with your talent consultants now versus what you were trying to look for if you're looking for a 360 recruiter?
Well, as a junior with no experience, if I look at the people we've taken on so far, some of them have never even worked in an office before. Some have, and, you know, had some kind of commercial life experience, but hadn't found the right vehicle, I suppose. But I suppose that in some ways makes it easier to hire because there are less barriers to entry. But it is all on personality. It's all on attitude and activity.
Attitude.
Paul taught me in 2003, the only 2 things you can control. And we still say it now, and it's still true now. And that's what we look for. We're people who can take guidance, who want to learn, who are open to learning, and want to put in a shift to get something out of it for themselves. So, yeah, that's been great. And because we've taken them on with no recruitment experience, there's no preconceived ideas of how it should be done. They're super moldable, and we spend so much time on making sure they get all the process, all the tools, everything in their arsenal, and it's down to their sort of positive attitude and you know, and energy to deliver that. And we're obviously always on hand to coach and mentor them as they go through the journey. But it's been unreal.
I think one of the softer or less noticeable sides is we spend a lot of time making the culture and the environment in the office a fun place to be. You know, there's no dressing it up. Recruitment is a boring job. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to do it. So you've got to have some fun while you're doing it here. And, you know, we've got a range of ages, but you looking at the conversation and everything else, you'd all think that we're all broadly at the same level. No one sort of felt left out. Yes, there's a lot of education when there's a 20-year-old and you're speaking to someone like me who's a lot older that you might not know exactly what, and also vice versa. Luckily, I have kids, so that helps. But it's making that environment key, and I think we do have that right at the moment. It's a good mix of working hard as well as fun, which is able to keep the retention brilliantly since we started this. So for a year now, and that's what we want to continue. There's been several promotions for everybody in the business from when they first come in at that talent level, which is effectively the entry level. And again, promoting them, that gives them lots of recognition as well. So they seem to be enjoying it, and no one's left yet. Hopefully not.
Yeah. Great. And I totally agree with you. I think, you know, culture, isn't it, not to be underestimated. It's almost like the glue, really, that fits everybody together. It's like you talked about those values of how we behave. Why is it we're doing what we're doing? It's so important. You've got that vision and that mission for your team, so they know, you know, why is it I've got to step outside my comfort zone today to take a particular action? What is it that I'm driving towards? So by having that culture and that, you know, this is the way Movement 8 do it, people then buy into that and breed into that. What do you think's changed, either of you or both of you, in terms of mindset and how, you know, how that shifted as a business owner in the last 12 months?
Mindset wise, I think, well, the first thing is we haven't really recruited for the last 4 months. That's the first time that's happening. It took 6 years to get to that point where now we're so busy on the business that we haven't had time to do the resourcing part. So that's great from a mindset perspective. I don't know really. That's probably more something you'd be better at answering than me.
Yeah, you've got to be open. If you don't know something, then ask the questions. And I still believe that there are too many people that are scared to ask the questions as they think they've been doing it. And my son taught me that when he was 4 years old, and he constantly asked questions, and I've taken that because it's like, well, you don't know the answer to that. So if you don't know the answer to something, it's not a silly question, and you should be inquisitive enough to find out. Hence why we're here now, and when we're here on this call. So you've got to be open, and even if you've got someone in the business with no experience, they could come up with an absolute gem that you haven't heard of. So it's that always be learning, always having that mindset to be, I guess, proud enough to take advice, take questions, ask questions, find someone who knows the answer. There's always new ways of doing stuff, and if it's working for someone, then incorporate it. And there's, Ross mentioned earlier, we have a playbook, so then we incorporate it into the playbook for the next person. So it's just about that learning side for me, and it's running your own business is not a light switch moment from being an employee. So you may be really senior, you may have been an SD or an MD in a company, and then you go and start your own business, and there's one or there's two of you or there's three of you, and like I mentioned earlier, Ross and I weren't on the phones for years. But moving away from that employee mentality takes time, in my opinion. It's not just I can do what I like. So there is that journey that you need to go on yourself, and to begin that change. And anything to do with your personal and your mindset and being open is going to help that journey later on, in my opinion.
I'll keep it always evolving. So that tells you quite a bit about us, suppose. And from our perspective, we are always looking to evolve our processes, the way we act, the way we do things, the way the team do things. They can bring ideas to us, and you've got to be always looking at innovating and evolving. So
definitely being one step ahead. I love it. So what would be like parting advice to someone else who maybe is having some of those challenges that you were having a year ago? What would be your advice to that individual?
It works. The system works. There's a lot of information on Rocket. If you're on this call now and you're watching it later on, that should suggest that you've signed up. Therefore, maximize it. And trust it. Trust the process. Your first thought was, I can't take half a day out to sit and watch 3 videos or get through this. You've got a month before your next follow-up call where you have to do one module. Make sure you do it. Honestly, it is game-changing by making that time to do it. And half a day a week or a day a week, just take a day out and do it. But shut yourself away and don't go into it half-heartedly.
No, I think you have to leave your ego at the door to a certain degree. It doesn't matter. Yeah, we've all set up businesses because we must have thought we were good at recruitment. Hopefully we're good at it to set up in the first place, but doesn't mean you know how to do everything. Doesn't mean you know how to run a business and how to keep evolving it. So you've got to forget all that and just jump on in. Whether you're someone with, 2 people just started up, it's great because it'll give you the foundation to move forward from. Or like us, we were 5 years in. We were doing all right. We were growing every year, but we wanted to turbocharge it. Yeah, you've got to take that leap of faith and go for it.
Amazing. Thank you both. Thank you both so very much. I really appreciate your time, and I hope if you're listening, you've enjoyed this conversation as much as I have, and you've walked away believing that you can do the same. If you take away one thing from this conversation, what is it that you're going to walk away from? What is it that you're going to implement in your business? Ask yourself that, write it down, take the first step. So what's the first step that I need to do to implement this? Gentlemen, thank you so much. And Ross, I know because it's like on the wire for you to get to your son's school. So thank you both so much. It's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed having you here. Thank you very much again.